Welcome back to The Tired American, the California story, immigration, and stolen land. Feel free to not stare at the screen, as this is just an expression of thoughts and ideas. I'm tired. Aren't you? It's not that I need to lay down and take a nap or get a better night's sleep, even though that does sound good. My exhaustion is more than that. It's ingrained, deeper in my psychological process, and it wears on me in ways that I just cannot stand. I'm hoping that by making this video and expressing my thoughts that maybe I can find hope that I'm not the only one who feels this way. It is hard to recall when I started to feel this level of disconnection that is so palpable you could shake hands with it. I do not plan to show any clips, any other commenters, or footage. I don't want to include anything that can spike the anxiety that I believe plagues us all, whether some of us realize it or not. I want to keep this calm, low stimulation, and maybe what I say can carry more weight with a cooler head. I want to encourage thought. Lastly, I want you to leave this video encouraged to put down the phone, get off the computer, and close the social media apps and disconnect with what I believe has become one of the biggest plagues to humanity's sanity. This topic that I want to cover is obviously prevalent today. I know everybody's seen what's going on in California. But to me, there's more to it than you might think. Mainly because of my experience. See, I was born and raised in California. It all started in a hospital in Laguna Beach. My mom likes to talk about how she had a room with an ocean view when she gave birth to me. A lot of people like to drag California. I do see, understand, and unfortunately agree with a lot of what they say. It didn't always used to be like this, though. And I still love my home state. From our sunny shores to our rolling hills, from our driest deserts to our mountaintops. If you take California for its culture mix, landscape, weather, and of course, the best cuisine in the nation, I don't think there's any other state that comes close to California. I've been all over the country, right around 25 different states, and I've lived in several other beautiful states, to include Hawaii, Maine, Virginia, Nevada. So I feel like I do have a bit of experience to talk on the superiority of California. I understand if it isn't your cup of tea, the state is very expensive. I'm lucky enough to have a job that provides me with enough income that I can continue living there. I also understand that the politics of the state isn't for everyone, and if I'm being honest, California politics isn't it for me either. I probably disagree with about 80% of California's politics. But I'm not going to abandon my state because I love it here for the things that matter more to me, which is my family and enjoyment of my everyday life. This is why I'm so disheartened by what this state has become. This place is now an echo chamber of privilege that people don't even see that they have. The worst part of California is the people. Everyone is just pitted against each other. So much that we don't even recognize how good we have it in this beautiful state. This is what brings me to the specifics of today. And I want to start with immigration. Before I really delve into it, though, I want to start with this. The United States needs immigration reform. It needs to incentivize people to follow the legal process And it needs to streamline the legal process so it doesn't take as long for people to enter the country, no matter what visa they're applying for or if it's even citizenship. The legal process for proper entry into the United States is a broken system. With that said, what is going on in Los Angeles is appalling. I am sure you want to know which side I am on, and you might have already guessed, but it is a simple thing to answer. I am on the side of the law, and I am against the disingenuous individuals who distort the issue at hand when it comes to deportation. Now, please listen closely to these words and the choices that are made in their selection. You will often hear the liberals of California right now screaming that the federal agents here are deporting immigrants who are simple people that just want a job. But did you catch it? Did you hear the selective verbiage of the people they're describing? They say immigrants. They chose to leave out the most key word in their sentencing: illegal. Now, this topic is close to my heart because my wife is an immigrant. I met her during my work overseas. But unlike who the liberals are describing, my wife came here legally through a K-1 visa that took almost 18 months to be approved at the height of COVID. Once she got here and we got married, we did a change of status, and then it took us another 3 years for her to get her green card. My wife is a lawful permanent resident of this country. We did it the right way. The liberals are defending people who are skipping this process. By doing this, they are lumping in legal individuals who want nothing more than to be included in the American society with the illegal immigrants who think they are above the law and took a risk that they thought they would be able to get away with. This is why in this past election, legal immigrants who are able to vote voted far more red than they usually do. The legal immigrants do not appreciate being associated with the lawbreakers who made it harder for them and the rest of those who want to enter the country illegally, because it absorbs the resources that could be allocated to those who are trying to do it legally. It makes sense to me that they're upset. I know my wife is. And she was a classic version of a blue European. Very, very liberal in her beliefs. But because of the years of pain, struggle, and insufferable wait times where you have no idea what the status of your case is, at least on the topic of immigration, my wife is totally in the red. So, some will bring up those who came here on asylum. Well, these people had to go through a legal vetting process in order to claim asylum. I have no issues with these people, and I understand the asylum process. The only people I have a problem with and who I want deported are the ones who came here illegally because they skipped the line. I want immigration. I think immigration is a foundational pillar to the American society, but it has to be done by our laws and processes. If people are allowed to get away with breaking the law, it will embolden them to continue breaking the law because there are no consequences for their actions. You can see this in many other aspects of our lives. But in saying all of this, I get why they enter illegally. The legal process for entry and citizenship is too long, too hard, and broken. It wears on those going through it. The disingenuous verbiage of the liberals is emotional manipulation. They're trying to guilt trip us by saying, think of the kids, think of the families being torn apart, think of the fear this causes, think of on and on and on. Yes, you should be afraid to break the law. You should be afraid to go to jail and be held accountable for your disgusting actions. That's what's meant to keep you from breaking the law, is fear. These liberals, they only appeal to your emotions, never to your logic. Logically, we all know that if you break the law, there is a punishment for it, whether it is jail, community service, or in this case, deportation. The legal process has been tearing families apart since the invention of legalities. This is no different. I do sympathize with these people, though. It must feel horrible to have this happen. Have your uncle, your aunt, your dad, your mom, somebody in your family or friend group get deported. I understand that it sucks, but you shouldn't break the law. It doesn't matter how you broke the law. You just shouldn't do it if you are not ready to face the consequences. It isn't like these laws are unjust. So now I want you to think about the use of and omittance of certain words that people use, especially in this case, because words matter. They show you the intent of those who choose how they use them. And the intent of the liberals in this case is deceit, whereas with the Republicans, the message has consistently been logical by saying we are deporting those who broke the law. It doesn't matter if they find them at home, work, or Home Depot. They broke the law, they face the consequences. These people are just trying to manipulate you. Don't let them. Hold people to account who are trying to manipulate you. The next is a history lesson, and something I have heard relentlessly about during these LA riots. And this is the case of California being stolen. If we are talking about stealing the land from Native Americans, sure, you may have more of a case there. However, if you were talking about the land being stolen from Mexico, you're just plain wrong. The land was originally tainted by the Spanish in 1492 when Columbus led his famed exploration. From there, they spread like a disease in the Caribbean, South America, Central America, and even North America. The Spanish started stealing the land first. In 1542, Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo led an expedition as far north in California as modern-day Santa Barbara. However, the Spanish didn't meaningfully start to settle in what they called Alta California until around after the 7 Years' War, which ended in 1763. You can still find some of their missions and presidios throughout California, or at least the remnants of them. And what came next was in 1821. Mexico gained their independence to include the territory of Alta California. They did not return the land that was stolen by the Spanish to the natives. They kept it. So the land went from being stolen by the Spanish to being stolen by the Mexicans, if we're following the logic. Following the independence, the Mexican government sent more missionaries to Alta California. They continued their abuse and taking advantage of Native Americans through these missionaries. And when it came time to give them anything of what had been stolen, it was less than their fair share, and they only managed to keep it for a few years before giving it back up. It wasn't until 1826 when Jedediah Smith came to California as the very first U.S. citizen to enter the territory. And in 1841, the first official settlement of U.S. citizens arrived in California. Up to this point, Mexico always had trouble maintaining government control of Alta California, even before arrival of the U.S. citizens. In 1842, they sent, and excuse me for this, Manuel Micheltorena, I think that's how you say it, to govern the area of Alta California for the Mexican government. This sparked a revolt in Alta California that caused Micheltorena to go back to Mexico. And this is where Pio Pico came to be. Pio Pico was a local ranchero of part African, native, and Spanish descent to become governor of what was unofficially known as independent California. This territory did not answer to Spain, it barely answered to Mexico, and definitely did not answer to the United States. But where the U.S. started their funny business was in 1844, just before the Mexican-American War. There were some unannounced crossings by U.S. Army surveyors and scouts. An American admiral declared victory in a non-existent war up to that point in Monterey Harbor, and several other small events, and I don't want to cover them all because I don't want this video to be too long. Then came 1846. There were already rumors of an imminent war between Mexico and the U.S. at this time, but California still considered itself independent of Mexico. So on June 10th, Americans near Sonoma, which is in Northern California, if you're not familiar, it's just north of San Francisco by about a couple hours drive. These Americans took up arms and declared independent California Republic. They had a homemade flag bearing a single star and the painted image of a grizzly bear. This uprising was dubbed the Bear Flag Revolt, and that flag should sound familiar because it was the very first rendition of the California state flag. This revolt ended, though, on July 9th of 1846, when they learned that Mexico and the U.S. were officially at war, and that battleship and admiral who had declared victory in Monterey Harbor was still sitting there. The Mexican-American War in California ended in January of 1847 with the Chueña capitulation. But it didn't end there. At the end of the Mexican-American War in 1848, the U.S. agreed to pay for the land that they had won in their victory as a compensation. The United States paid Mexico $15 million at that time, and as you can imagine is worth much, much more now. So the land wasn't even stolen from Mexico by the U.S. So now that we have covered a brief history of California, let's follow the logic in a liberal's terms. This land was stolen, number one, but it was originally stolen land by the Spanish, yet they receive 0% of the blame. I have never once heard Spain blamed for stealing the land of the Native Americans who lived there. Or, for that matter, killing many, many Native Americans and those of Central and South America. Number two, Mexico retained the stolen land after independence from Spain rather than give it back to the Native Americans. And on top of that, they even continued to exploit the natives in the area. Number three is Alta California rejected the Mexican government and had populations of Mexicans, Europeans, Americans, and natives all living together. They rejected a Mexican governor and installed their own. And then in number four, the U.S. won the Mexican-American War. Yet we still agreed to pay them a compensation of $15 million, even though we were the victors. We didn't have to pay them those compensations. We did it because they're our neighboring country. It is better to give them a little than it is to give them nothing. Yet after all of that, these uninformed, not necessarily uneducated, but these uninformed people blame the so-called evil United States for all of this history. This is why history and curiosity and education is important. Not scrolling through TikTok and your For You pages to just have people agree with you because that's what the algorithm does. You can see that those who do not learn from history are doomed to be manipulated by those who are disingenuous with their intentions about the way they present history. Because of their ineptitude, they now riot in the streets of Los Angeles, assaulting people just trying to do their job. Doxing them, putting their families in danger because they are going after people who broke the law. All because these people are caught up in their emotions. On top of that, we have created an environment where these people will not listen. They will simply drown you out if you try to talk to them. They won't hear a single word you have to say. And it's exhausting. On to the rest of California. The deceit of the people who were voted in to lead our cities and state are manipulating those most vulnerable in our state by making promises they have no intention of keeping. Instead of solving homelessness and drug abuse in the state, California's governments on city, state levels have misused billions of dollars and only encouraged the behavior by just simply handing out money. We've all heard the phrase, teach a man to fish, you feed him for a life, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, or strike that and reverse it. It's the same thing. If you just give people money, they're not going to know what to do with it other than spend it. You need to give them the tools to survive and not just a Band-Aid, which is all they've done. It encourages people to continue this behavior because they're just getting everything for free. This is billions of dollars of not just my money, but California's money. And it's not going towards the programs they say. It's lining the pockets of our corrupt government in California. It's lining the pockets of Gavin Newsom and all of his compatriots. I know we all remember when he went and ate at a Michelin-starred restaurant in Northern California wine country, while the rest of us during COVID were told to stay at home, wear our masks, don't go out. Gavin Newsom has promised so much, and in my opinion, he has failed to deliver on anything of meaningful substance. I would go even as far to say, as all Gavin Newsom has done for the state of California is run it into the ground. He has passed laws that have destroyed dams for no reason other than, oh no, a little fish lived in the water. And this has made our water situation in the state worse. We have brownouts regularly. Our stupid EV policy and getting rid of gas and gas vehicles. The gas taxes that keep going up. The idea that they're going to tax gas vehicle drivers and electric vehicle drivers, charging them by the mile to drive because the EV owners are no longer paying the gas tax. And they need that money somehow. The billions of dollars that have been spent on this high-speed railway to go from right now nowhere to nowhere. I know Hawaiians are also upset about this kind of thing because of their railway that's supposed to go from Pearl City to downtown Honolulu. I've seen it. It's an eyesore. Unfortunately, yeah, it's public transportation and that's good, but it has been overcharged and delayed for far too long. All because I'm pretty sure people are just trying to make more and more money. But back to California, he's ran out Hollywood. These people support California politics more than anybody else. They are the kings and queens of virtue signalers. And he ran them out through policies and charging outrageous sums for permits. Not to mention that the living expenses of California are outrageous, and people who actually make the movies and not the actors and actresses, they can't afford to live here. There is more red tape in our government on all aspects of California lives that it could probably line our entire shore of California. But people keep voting for these Democrat politicians because they think that this time they will deliver. This time they won't have lied to us. This time they will give us all the free stuff that we want. Yet they never deliver. These voters live in this toxic echo chamber that keeps them tied to the corrupted Democrat politicians who have been failing them since 2011 in the local government. The last time California voted red for president was 1988. But I think with the mismanagement of the fires this year around Los Angeles, and by the incompetent people that they voted for, and the outrageous claims made by Sacramento, they just might have a change of heart this next election. However, I won't hold my breath. Unfortunately, I have very little faith in my fellow Californians because of how strong the echo chamber is. I truly believe it is at a level of indoctrination that will take even more of a catastrophic event to sway them. For now, I'll enjoy California's weather, scenery, food, and everyday life amenities that I enjoy. I will continue to fight for my state to head down a brighter path. I believe politics is like a pendulum. It swings from side to side, and I think California is swinging away from the Democrat establishment. That establishment has enjoyed its power for far too long. Oh, and for any of those who think otherwise, In-N-Out Burger is the greatest fast food burger chain in existence. The quality, the consistency, and the price is better than any other burger joint. And yes, I've tried Shake Shack. I've tried Whataburger. I've tried Cookout. I've tried so many different burger joints, at least fast food burger joints. And none of them compare. And if you're going to rank a burger chain based off of their fries, then go to a French fry restaurant, not a burger joint. I'm there for a burger, not a French fry. I want my double-double animal style with strawberry lemonade. You know, the malts and shakes aren't bad either. There are restaurants that do those better. But the burger, just the burger, is the best out of any. And on that highly debated topic, I think it's it. Now, go make your day. Don't let others make it for you.